my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
They're here.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
It's showtime.
Right, welcome everybody to another episode of the VHS Strikes Back. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, and my co-host and very good friend is Dave.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to our listeners out there. Welcome to the VHS Strikes Back, the show where we dust off the old video player and go on a nostalgic journey to look at the good and the bad movies of yesteryear. Now, Chris, what are we going to review this week?
Well, Dave, this one is a Patreon pick. It's one of our very good friends, Mr. Mike Burton, from a Genuine Chit-Chat podcast, and also Star Wars aficionado, Dave. So it's quite apt he's picked this movie because this is supposed to be the, well, not necessarily the movie because it came after Star Wars, but the actual whole story and book that they think George Lucas ripped off to create the Star Wars world. But I have plenty to say about that, Dave. We are going back to 1984. This is a David Lynch movie, Dave. He directed, did the screenplay, now distances himself from this movie in about 3 or 4 iterations that have come to try and make it look like a good movie. But anyway, Dave, it stars Kyle MacLachlan. It stars Sting in a fucking loincloth, Dave. We are going to be doing the 1984 American epic space opera. And I'm saying that because that's what it says here written on the tin, Dune, Dave. So, having tried to watch the newer versions and fucking hated him, do you remember this and did you enjoy it years ago?
So when you were mentioning, I mean, you could have carried on for ages there, couldn't you? You know, you got Max von Sydow's in there, you got Patrick Stewart running into battle weirdly with a pug. There's so many people in this movie. But Chris, so I knew of this movie, and I remember, I think my mum and dad were watching it, and I walked into the room or something, and so I think I'd seen bits of it, and I think I was lured in on the idea that this was, you know, something Star Wars adjacent, and I just the only bit I remember from the movie is this big fat bloke spitting into a woman's face. And that is literally the image that I've had in my head for, well, since I was a kid. And obviously the whole Sting with that shit-eating grin when he's in his codpiece there. I mean, I've seen that so many times just on various memes and stuff. I mean, cracking body on him, to be fair, at the time. I think he was embarrassed about it at the time, but, you know, if you look good, don't you? So, but yeah, I knew of it, and I thought, you know, maybe if I went back and watched this, would I actually enjoy it? You know, maybe I was just too young to enjoy it at the time. But then when the new one came out, I started watching that, and I was like, God, this is boring. It's just so dull. I can't be doing with this. And so I didn't get on with that either. And then a third time at this franchise, Chris, I think it was when Game of Thrones finished. And I'd heard somewhere, I don't know where it was, but, you know, someone said, oh, basically, you know, Dune, it's a bit like Game of Thrones because you got all these different houses and stuff. And so I got the first book, and then I started going through that, and I was like, oh, fucking hell, I ain't got a clue what's going on here. So I didn't get on with that either. So I've had multiple false starts with this franchise. But yeah, I can't say, I don't remember watching this whole movie. Like I say, I was probably, I don't know, it was probably on TV or something. So I watched it around 86, 87 or something like that. I don't know. I feel like I was definitely pre-10. You know, I don't have that firm a memory of it. But yeah, this has been the first time I've watched it. I mean, how about yourself, Chris?
Yeah, you know what? I heard the name Dune for years and never associated. And then when they sort of did these remakes or the newer versions or whatever they were, and then reading up on some of the things a couple of years ago, like, yeah, basically Star Wars, they think, was based on the books and the story and everything. And George Lucas, you know, a lot of artistic license with the whole Star Wars universe. But because he came first and the movie came second, when I didn't realise it was an 84 movie, there's all that conjecture and all these different like problems with it and all this crap. But then having watched the newer ones, Dave, and thinking, yeah, my God, after 45 minutes, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, because I absolutely hated the new versions the new version. I've not even watched the second, even though they've been a success, and I know that loads of people love it. I just never interested. So when obviously Mike, and he's great, Mike's picked this because he's the right person to pick this one. It's like, let's go back and watch it. And you sort of think, well, is it going to be any good? But then when you watch it, I'm like, yeah, there's a reason I've never heard of this properly or watched it. It's just not, even though Star Wars I love and all that sort of thing, it's never something that I would have watched. And I didn't even know Kyle MacLachlan was in this one. I didn't know anything about this. I actually thought the original was out in the 70s. So when we were doing the trailer last week, I was looking for the trailer and then just having a look at what we were doing. We always have it up in front of us, so we, for what we're doing next week. I was surprised it was 84. I honestly thought it had come a couple of years after Star Wars, which would have been on 79. So the fact that it was like 7 years later, I don't know how that would have been received anyway, because Star Wars was huge at this point, wasn't it? We were at Return of the Jedi. 83 was Return of the Jedi. And that was just massive, wasn't it? I mean, we'd already had Indiana Jones at this point as well. Harrison Ford was huge off the back of this Star Wars. So, yeah, I just didn't know what to expect, but there's no way I would have rented this. There's no way I would have got this out. And I don't think, Dave, I might be wrong, but do you ever remember it being on UK TV? Because I don't. I don't think I've ever seen it on the television.
No, I feel like that's... Because I don't remember my mum and dad renting it out. I do remember... I'm pretty sure it would have been on the TV. But... yeah, I never caught it on the TV, if that's what you mean. It's not like one of those, like, say, Back to the Future. ITV obviously got the license for it and showed it relentlessly for a few years, didn't they? Every time I turned on ITV2, it seemed to be on for a while. But, yeah, not so much for this one. I'm sure it has been, but it's not one of those that's been replayed over and over.
No, because it's fucking rubbish. But anyway...
And I will say, you mentioned about Mike on Genuine Chit-Chat, but also his sister podcast, which I moonlight on, is also Star Wars Chit-Chat. So that's good. That's where you can get all your Star Wars kind of information. And myself, Mike, and Math as well, we get together. We haven't done so much because they've had an addition to the family this last year, so we haven't done that much this last year, but we'll be back on it soon.
Oh, good stuff.
Well, Chris, on that note, should we get into our trailer?
Let's go.
In the distant future, on a desert planet called Arrakis.
Apparently, moisturizer no longer exists.
The spice must flow.
Nobody entirely sure what the spice does, but everyone is willing to die for it.
Young Paul Atreides is destined for greatness.
The universe's most overqualified teenager.
Noble houses battle for control of the galaxy.
It's true that mostly by holding meetings and looking intensely at each other.
Giant sandworms roam the deserts.
Which somehow remain the least weird thing in this film.
Prophecy, betrayal, destiny.
And more exposition than an entire season of television.
Paul must embrace his destiny.
Just as soon as somebody explains what his destiny actually is.
From visionary director David Lynch
comes the film that asks, what if Star Wars, but you needed a glossary?
In the distant future, young Paul Atreides travels with his family to Arrakis, a brutal desert planet and the only source of the most valuable substance in the universe, the spice. But when a political handover turns into a deadly betrayal, Paul is separated from everything he's ever known and forced to survive in one of the harshest environments imaginable. As strange visions and ancient prophecies begin to surround him, Paul discovers that his destiny may be tied to the future of Arrakis itself, with giant sandworms roaming the desert and rival houses fighting for control of the spice. Paul must decide whether he's simply trying to survive or whether he is destined to change the universe. Now, Chris, what do you reckon to the opening of this movie?
I'm shaking my head. This movie's fucking shit. It is terrible. It's absolute. Thank God George Lucas may have ripped off some of the ideas to create Star Wars, because even if this had come out before Star Wars, it'd still be shit. It is one of the most boring. I mean, I know you look at like the original trilogy, not the original, sorry, the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. You've got all that political shit going on, aren't you, all the time? They're all having meetings. We've got fucking ET in there and all
the trade routes.
Yeah, and all that crap. And that is boring in that prequel stuff, little bits of it. But it's not like this. This is terrible, Dave. Like the amount of fucking team meetings they have or fucking toolbox talks about what's going on is terrible. And why Paul? I mean, Luke Skywalker's a great name. Fucking Paul. Good old Paul there, MacLachlan. Honestly, this movie is terrible. It's so boring, and it runs over 2 hours, 17 minutes. Dave, it feels like it's on for about 5 hours. It is absolutely atrocious. Everything about, and the problem is, to be fair, because it came after Star Wars, that's the issue. Because I know people have said, like, Star Wars is based on George Lucas. Thank God he did, Dave, as I just said, because none of the characters are likable. Paul, I don't give a fuck about him. I really don't care about him. I think Cal Coughlin's terrible in this. I mean, he's got lovely hair. That's about it. But the story and everything is just empty for me. Like the effects, the fact that he's like 10,191 years in the year. It's like, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's before. It looks like a proper desolate. And you can see the comparisons to Star Wars. I get it. But my God, this is one of the most boring movies I've seen, Dave, that we've covered in the whole 6-7 years of doing this podcast. It's absolutely awful.
Now, I actually watched 2 different versions of this, Chris. I watched the original theatrical cut, which is 2 hours and something.
That's what I was, yeah.
Yeah, and then I actually caught, because I thought, you know what, I'm not sure. Again, I had a clue what was going on here. I need to watch it again. And it wasn't a distraction thing. It was just like, there's so much going on and so much dialogue. I mean, obviously we differ on our love for Star Trek. I love it, you hate it. But I think a lot of the Star Trek, you'll have the odd action scene or something in a Star Wars episode, a Star Trek episode. But then there's so much dialogue, and then they're talking about, they'll have some moral dilemma or something, and they'll use science fiction to talk about some, human moral dilemma or something. And that's what I kind of like. But it was like that in this as well, but extended. I mean, there's so much dialogue and so little action. But the problem is, like you say, Star Wars, the original one, came out 1977.
Yeah.
This came out 1984, and the effects, sandworms aside, I thought they looked very good, and I'll get on to George Lucas in a minute, because the fucking Sarlacc pit is absolutely those sandworms, and there's so many different beats that he's stolen from it, but ultimately made better. But the special effects, I mean, the one where, Patrick Stewart turns up, and it's like, oh, it's Patrick Stewart. I mean, when I watched Star Trek The Next Generation, I just thought he came out of nowhere. It's like, oh, who's this British guy doing the, on this American TV show? And, it seems like an odd choice, but good for him. Whereas I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, someone's seen this and thought, oh, he'll make a good captain of the Starship Enterprise. But they start fighting, and then you get this animation, this shield where, if you come at someone fast, then it acts like a shield, but the slow blade, penetrates it, and it's like, fuck me, that looks terrible. Because you've had the whole Star Wars trilogy up until this point, it's like, oh yeah, you do have your expectations raised about what good special effects look like. I mean, I watched Empire Strikes Back the other week, and it still looks great. And that obviously came before this, so yeah. Now, I didn't No, I'm getting onto the two versions, actually. The second one, I believe, is like a fan edit. So it's 3 hours long.
Oh, my God.
However,
No.
it felt quicker. It's actually the way they've put it together, and they put in some deleted scenes and stuff. The story made more sense, but this original theatrical cut, I think, is, unless you know the source material, it's almost impenetrable what is really going on, what's actually happening there. And yeah, I struggled with it as well, I must admit.
Dave, I'm not sure I can buy into you. The 3 hour version was a lot quicker because I don't know what you can do with this. But it's interesting that, you know what it reminds me of, Dave, this. And reading about the different 4 versions, the fucking Snyder cut. It just reminds me of that, where there's this mythical, unbelievable movie that can compete with the MCU. And as someone who loves Superman more than any other, I've got more tattooed on my arm, but I've even got Iron Man now, Dave. I've got an Iron Man silhouette on over my tribal, and soon to be maybe Deadpool. But I've got the Marvel DC thing, but I'm a DC guy more than anything, I would have thought. So I'm Batman and Superman are my 2 favourites over all of them. Close with Spider-Man, obviously, but then it's like, you're never going to get that perfect movie. I still see the discourse online to Snyder cut this like fucking that absolute bobbins Wonder Woman, the 3rd one, where she basically just fucking sexually assaults that guy because she pretends it's her ex-lover. And if that was reversed, it'd be a massive thing if that was a bloke doing it.
But it's Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot, so we're fine with it. Yeah, and the story was terrible anyway. But there's supposed to be, and the thing which is amazing, Harley Quinn. The second one is like there's supposed to be is this big thing online about changing that. You can't polish a turd. I'm sorry. I didn't mind the Justice League stuff at all. I didn't mind the movie. I didn't mind the original one, to be honest. I love when Superman comes in and they change it and all that stuff. But with this, I don't see what you can do. And I think it's a shame, really, because anything that came after Star Wars and the behemoth it was, it's always going to struggle. And when it's so similar, when really this was the OG, but nobody would know that. I wouldn't know this, Dave. I mean, imagine watching this in, like you say, watch 86, 87. You just think it was a Temu version of Star Wars, wouldn't you? It's like, they're trying to copy Star Wars, when really Star Wars, George Lucas copied them to some extent with some of the beats of the movie and stuff. But then again, it's a sci-fi soap opera drama, this. So I'd sort of feel sorry for it. But also, if you're going to, even if you are, and people think you're ripping off Star Wars, you've got to make it into a good film. And this is not a good. It's so confusing what's going on. And them fucking worm things appearing and that. Even Star Trek, which I fucking hate, as you know, has a better story than this. This just is all over the place. It's so difficult to follow what's actually going on. And then they've got them stupid fucking breathing apparatus through the noses and stuff.
I mean, not just breathing. You also piss and shit into it, and it extracts the moisture. And I was like, "Oh, I bet that's got an aftertaste to it." Yeah. But that whole idea, weird. I mean, Luke, and his Uncle Owen and Aunt Peru, is it? They were moisture farmers on Tatooine. So you can see that there's a direct parallel there, and the whole spice thing, using the Force, using telepathy, and, here you've got them using the voice to, convince people to do things. So there is a huge dose of influence on Star Wars from this. And I always remember hearing that, George Lucas said, "Oh yeah, I wanted to get the rights for Flash Gordon." And I can remember thinking, how do you get from Flash Gordon to this? And it never made sense to me, other than, someone going off and running around space or whatever. But this, you can absolutely see the parallels to it. And one of the things I didn't expect, though, and it comes later on when he's on Dune, is the line, and he's like, "If you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm." I was like, where have I heard that from? And I was thinking, it's the Fatboy Slim tune, wasn't it? I watched that so much, when you've got Christopher Walken there. Do you remember it?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Without rhythm, you won't attract the worm. And I was like, yeah, this is where he's got it from.
You know what though, Dave? Especially at the end, and you've said about the different influence stuff that I hear. You're right about that. Is I felt that the Wachowski sisters, I think that some of the Matrix took a bit of inspiration for some of this. A little bit, some of the bits at the end, especially, and he seems to have this epiphany where he's like, most people die when they're in the middle of the. I'm jumping at the end, but I felt that some people have taken influence from Dune as much as we got Star Wars, and it's a hard genre to do. How could anybody have imagined Star Wars would be what it was? At this point, like I say, Return of the Jedi has just come out the year before, and then this comes out. Everyone's just going to shit on it anyway. But like I say, the execution's got to be better. I mean, I love the fact that I was reading some of the trivia, and you've probably read it. Fucking Patrick Stewart, right? Who's not aged since he was about 15 days. Just looks exactly the same.
Always look the same, hasn't he?
Exactly. He spoke to Sting and thought he was a solo. I didn't know who he was. When he said I'm in the band Police, he thought he was in the police band for the Metropolitan Police. That is just fucking brilliant. Police were huge at this point, weren't they? You know what I mean? It's like, I loved it. But
there's some footage on YouTube I was watching where he tells that story, and it just makes no sense to me at all because growing up, music just surrounds your life, whereas I don't know, Patrick Stewart seems to have, I don't know, maybe he was just so immersed in books, probably didn't watch TV or have music on or whatever, just wanted to play Shakespeare and stuff. But yeah, it's bizarre to me that you'd say, oh, a police band. Oh, good for you.
Yeah. Well done. That's how you do in your spare time. Yeah, I'm a multi-million. Because at that point, you would have had Englishmen in New York out, wouldn't they? At least that was.
They'd have been massive at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, there was good old Gordon. He was fucking huge. But I like the fact, Dave. We have these callbacks where people in different movies. But Dean Stockwell, we've not talked about, Dave. So he was Charles Kane, the alphabet fucking bandit in Beverly Hills Cop 2. But also, more importantly, Dave, he was in, which is a shame we're never going to review it, but Quantum Leap. Honest, so he was, what a fucking that's one of the best sci-fi series I've ever watched, and I don't know whether it's stand up now, but I used to love that show so much. Fucking Connery was such a good show. So Dean Stockwell,
Ziggy,
Sean Young, Ziggy, I loved it, Dave, and Sam, oh boy, and then it just fucking goes.
Ziggy was like the little handheld thing, wasn't it? It was the thing he used to talk to.
Yes, he was. Well, Sam was thingy on it.
He's the main guy.
He was the main guy. I loved it. I loved Quantum Leap. What a great show that was. That was so good. But Dean Stockwell, great actor, Dave. He was always going to be the alphabet bandit for me, though. Beverly Hills Cop 2. Chip Kane, or Charles Kane, as they called him. But no, I think what's a shame about this movie, as much as I hated it and it's boring and everything, is there's a good story in there. And I mean, budget-wise, Dave, it had $42 million budget in '84, so they were thinking this was going to wipe the floor with Star Wars, and it made 30 altogether. It made 67 and 68 worldwide with rentals and stuff. But like I say, I don't know any of my friend circle ever mentioned Dune ever to me. Like you would say, oh, what's this cracking sci-fi? Even if you're not into it, rented this movie. I've not heard one person in my lifetime until I came across this when we were doing some Star Wars stuff saying Dune. And then when the new ones come out, I thought, they're going to be really good. And everyone's going epic movies. And honestly, I got about 45 minutes into the new one, and I was like, thinking you've got Dave Bautista in everything. I'm thinking it's going to be great. It's fucking boring as fuck to me. I don't know if it gets better, but I've not got the energy to watch that shit. I'd rather just put Star Wars back on and watch that. Yeah. At least with Star Wars, yes, the prequel, as I said, there is pacing issues, but if you watch the original ones, it's just from the get-go, straight in it, action. And I know they were using, because they had low budgets and that, but they're still great movies. You care about the characters in this. I don't care. I don't know any of the names other than fucking Paul. And I keep thinking of Paul the Alien.
Yeah.
With, Simon fucking Finger.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg. I just think they do a really bad job of introducing some great character names, but then afterwards going, what are they in it? I don't give a fuck about them. I don't care. Does that make sense? It really, it's just something missing.
I think and again, I think David Lynch distances himself from this and hated the whole project because I think he just didn't have a lot of control, and there's all kinds of studio interference. So it's one of those where, who really takes responsibility for this? But I agree about there being a good story in there. And I think where they get it wrong, and let's say Star Wars got it right, is Star Wars. So they renamed A New Hope. It just boiled it down to being a very simple story. Yes. And, the bigger, wider universe with the struggle against the Empire and stuff, it's kind of there, but it's so focused. That first one on Luke's journey, it's basically this young farm boy, bit disgruntled about being home, wants to break out from, his current environment and whatever, goes on this adventure and ends up being the hero. Again, you kind of have to rewrite it a little bit. If you watch something like 2 seasons of Andor and you look at the struggles that people went through for absolute years, and then you get this snot-nosed kid coming up who's fucking bullseyeing want rats with his T16, crazy psycho little kid, but he turns out to be the hero, and you're like, what the fuck? Comes in and steals the glory, like taps it in like Gary Lineker right at the end there. So I think it focuses on that story, though, on his story, and everything, the wider Star Wars universe is happening around him. And, when you get the other movies, it expands on that universe. It expands on the lore. And so when people watch it over and over, you pick more and more stuff and you want to know more about this universe. Whereas this, from the get-go, they've just tried to jam too much in there. And, straight from the off, you've got Virginia Madsen there, who, we covered her on a couple of things, didn't we? Highlander 2 was one.
Yeah.
What was she was in, was it I Come in Peace or something like that?
Yes.
She was in?
Yeah.
So she appears at the start trying to basically explain, remember all these place names, because it's going to come back later, and you've got these different houses, and, it's not like the houses are just named after the planets. You have to remember the planet names and the house names as well, and you have to care about them. And apparently when it did get released at the cinema, they did release like a glossary as well that they were handing out, so you could know when they mentioned something like, you look at the glossary and it's like, right, it's this thing, is it? And I think if you imagine, I know you went off Game of Thrones a bit, but if you'd have tried to make a movie of that, well, what would you do? Like, which story would you tell? And it feels to me like they've just tried to throw so much in there. And they do that mad soap opera thing, like it's Days of Our Lives or something, where you can hear people's inner monologue. So they're explaining things to you. And it's just like, oh my God, this is actually quite bad.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like, there's so, honestly, I get it. I get like the range of actors and actresses in this. It should have been a hit at least, or even if the visual effects weren't great, you would buy into the political side of it. The fact that they call it like an opera type thing is fucking epic space opera. I know they say that a little bit about Star Wars, but, and you're saying about Luke's journey, you're right. I think like in the first one, you've just got to ground it, haven't you? And it's just simply about Luke finding this Obi-Wan, because obviously there's been a message sent for Obi-Wan and he comes across this droid and not knowing who he is in this world. And he's like I say, I'm ruining all that. They're fucking ruining that. They're hiding him out because he's, so nobody knows who he is and stuff. And then it all transpires, but you've got like Han Solo, the fucking cocky ass, and the smuggler with Chewie, and then you've got even R2D2 and C-3PO. They're just like a married couple, aren't they? You've got little bits of sort of comedy there, aren't you, where you care about, and there's a bit of personality in this. They're all like fucking like they should be working for the Queen, or they're not Queen anymore, the King. Like they look like proper upper class wankers where they there's no personality to him. And then when Paul actually gets a personality, we're nearly over 2 hours into the movie, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. He has a vision in his sleep, and then that's supposed to save the world. He's just like and these little steps in there where it's like, well, they've now been fighting for 2 years, and I'm like, really? Fucking hell, are they not bored by this? You know what I mean? Like, fucking, it's just a shame. And looking and reading the trivia, this was in production while Star Wars was being made. It just took that long, didn't it, to get together? And Ridley Scott was the original director, wasn't he? So he jumped off because his brother died, and then that's when David Lynch came in, and he ended up doing Blade Runner because he had to take time out. But you're thinking there's so much stuff there. Look at how long it took to create the sets and everything. It must have, by the end of it, I bet David Lynch fucking hated it. He must have done 3 years. He was involved with this movie, 3.5 years to get it to screen, and then it becomes out and it's a fucking dud. It's unbelievable. And how they've done a remake, I don't know.
But I think because of the books. I think the people who love the books absolutely love them. And like I say, I will go back to it one day, and I'll maybe try the new movies out. And actually, I did warm to this one, but particularly on the they call it the Redux edit or something like that, the 3-hour one. I did get more into it. I got more of an understanding, and I could kind of see that actually I think this would make a much better series, you know. And again, yes, like Game of Thrones, just build up that understanding, because Game of Thrones, again, they make that first book or that first season quite small. You know, there's lots going on, and actually the more I watch it, you know, you realize in the dialogue they are mentioning these other houses and other things that have happened and other people that you'll meet later, but it doesn't throw too much at you too soon, whereas this one definitely does. And one of the people we haven't mentioned as well is Jürgen Prochnow. So he was one of the judges in Judge Dredd. Don't know if you remember him popping up at all, but he's playing the Duke. And again, you get old Quantum Leap guy, you know, he betrays him, but the Baron is holding his wife. So, you know, he's kind of blackmailing him into, you know, drugging the Duke. And then he drugs him, but then he's like, oh yeah, I'll give you this almost like a cyanide capsule or something. You know, I'll just replace your tooth. But it's when he's kind of there and he's all drugged up and stuff, and he's thinking, oh, what is it? What is it? Oh, you know, you got this inner monologue. The tooth. I just think the way it's done is just terrible. And then he bites down on the tooth, and then it just looks so ridiculous because they've got this fucking hairdryer or something. I don't know how they made it happen, but blowing into it's Brad Dourif, isn't it? It's Chucky, the guy who does the voice for Chucky, with some massive caterpillar eyebrows on there as well. And but he mistakes him for the Baron and tries to kill him. And so there are so many mad moments in this film. I think that's why when I watched it the first time, honestly, I didn't get on with it at all. But actually, the second time, you realise that there's actually some quite funny moments and just some iconic moments in this as well.
Well, Dave, I'll take your word for that. But Jürgen Prochnow, I do know that is Dave, because I just realised who you're talking about. That's fucking Maxwell Dent. Beverly Hills Cop 2, the main baddie, Dave, with Dean Stockwell. So they're in this same movie together. So you've got Maxwell Dent and fucking Charles Kane together. So, Andy does the voice of Arnie in all Arnie's movies. And he's done the voice, not Arnie,
does the voice of Arnie?
He does the German dubbing of Rocky. He's been the voice of Rocky, Dave, since it came out in German. I didn't know
interesting.
That. Yeah, and he did all the Rocky ones, everything. Yeah, so I'm just reading on it now. So I do know that. Even in Creed, he was doing Rocky's voice. But there you go, Dave. So I didn't even realise that's who it was. But yeah, legend Maxwell Dent, Dave. Because remember, Max kills cops for a living, as he says to Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion, as Eddie Murphy says. No, but maybe there is some funny bits in it. Maybe this edit, Dave, I'm not watching this. And is this something that does Mike love this as a series? I don't know if I have any conversations with him.
I've got some words from him. I'll save that for later on when we do our wrap up. But I do have a perspective on here. But I did know. So Max Byrne, chatting to him, and he loves it.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. So there is a lot of love for this movie as well out there.
Max, why are you doing that, mate? Why are you doing it? You give me enough aggro about United, let alone about this. This is a terrible movie. I'm not having it, Dave. I would say this is probably the worst movie I watched this year that we've done. Because it was just one of them ones where I rage hated it from the start to the end.
I mean, we did do Irreversible last week.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. But just in the respect of rage hating it, just all the way through, just like, please end. This is just no story. It should have so much potential with the actors and everything in it. It's just bobbins. And even Dave, listen, what's the score at the end? Why does he have this Neo moment where all of a sudden everything comes together after all this fighting he's been doing? He has like an epiphany. What's the reason? Because I don't think it's explained very well.
Well, he's basically the Messiah, so he's fulfilling the prophecy.
He's a very naughty boy.
He is a very naughty boy.
Couldn't help myself, sorry.
So yeah, you see, I mean, his mother, who looks like about 2 years older than him or something, she's obviously part of this order, because she's talking to the other lady who's kind of in league with the Baron and the Emperor, it seems. And so, you know, she was only supposed to give birth to daughters, but Paul was this kind of happy accident, I guess you might say. That's what I took from it. And so, yeah, they do mention it a few times about, oh, maybe he's the chosen one and whatever. But it's not like a Neo moment where, you know, right at the end, he's been told all the way through and it's very, very clear, like, you know, you're the chosen one. And then at the end, he gets to see everything in slow motion. And then you get that rousing kind of finish to the movie. You don't really get that. I mean, it's almost, to me, again, which is why I think it would make a better series, it takes so long to do this sort of world building. And then you've got this whole betrayal with the Duke, and, you know, he's captured by the Baron, and you've got the Harkonnens, is it? You know, they're obviously just some fucking race of pedos by the sounds of it. You know, they've all got this ginger hair. And I tell you who else was in there, Chris, which we covered, and he was in Red Sonja, and I'm trying to get to his name here. Paul L. Smith.
Right? Oh yeah, Paul L. Smith. Yeah.
So he was. We saw him. He played a role in Red Sonja, because I was watching it. I was like, who do I recognise him from? And also played Bluto in Popeye, which
I was going to say Bluto. Yeah, I was just say perfect for Bluto. Him, yeah, he was. But again, Dave's not like bottom tier actors and actresses.
Yeah,
he's there. It's just for me personally, what a poor waste of money, really, and waste of time, I think, and just waste of a world that there's just so much potential there, like so much they could have done with this. This could have been huge, and I think they thought it would be. And you can't do Star Wars. Star Wars was just there. That was it. It had put its.
I think they were trying to capitalize on Star Wars, weren't they? And
of course they were.
They even produced loads of figures as well. Can you imagine having oh look, Mum, can I have Baron Harkonnen? You know, this gross little fat puss-faced git. You know, it's almost like Batman Returns, isn't it? Is Batman Returns the one with the penguin with Danny DeVito, and you know,
yes,
McDonald's did all the toys from and stuff, and then the film comes out and he's biting people's noses off and stuff. It's like, kids don't really want to play with those toys, really. But yeah, so I think the studio just, for me, if I'm to try and guess why we've got what we've got, they just didn't understand what they had, and it was just an attempted cash grab to basically ride on the coattails of Star Wars.
Yeah, and I think that's what I think. I didn't explain it very well, but I think Star Wars had done it. So for you then to try and create another world that people are going to care about, attention spans, Dave, for someone like me, if this had come out first and it had been really good, maybe it'd be Dune and be like, not like the Star Trek, Star Wars thing. I have no interest in learning about the Star Trek lore and world and everything, it just bores the fucking shit out of me. And I don't think there's any real action in it. I think it's pretty boring. They're all like middle-aged men who just, again, a lot of political stuff. I know the newer stuff is a lot better, but it just never interested me. Whereas Star Wars, I could resonate probably because of the age, watching like a teenage Luke Skywalker, Han Solo being like this fucking bellend rogue guy, but someone who you think, yeah, he's a badass. He was the first figure I had out of all of the Star Wars and most of the figures. And I think that's what it is. There's just, with this, there's just nobody I care about, I think. And that's the, if you're going to make a load of figures, and I'd say what, Dave, I bet them figures are worth some money.
Yeah.
Because they'll be collector's items, won't they?
Oh, 100%. And like I say, I think there'll be some people who are probably shouting at the podcast now, like, this is a classic. But, I mean, I don't know. See, the thing is, I tried to watch it as a kid, so it's definitely not a kid's movie. I don't know what the right point of your life is, so what the right age when this came out it would be to really love it, or if it's just one of those where you sort of have to really get into the books and really understand the books, and then you can kind of see what the movie is trying to do, and it's got everything on fast forward, because like you say, everything's so slow and it kind of builds up, and there's so much dialogue and just talking. But then when they get to Dune, and it's like, oh yeah, we had a war for a couple of years. We were trying to disrupt the whole supply chain for spice. That was what Paul was working with the Freeman. And it's like they almost ran out of budget. It's like at the end of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where they kind of get, right to the end, and they're going to have a big battle, and then the police come along and just whip them into the back of the police van. So, yeah, just a real mishmash movie. And, we haven't talked that much about plot, because I think part of it is because it's so bloody confusing. But yeah, I think in essence, he was supposed to be the Messiah, and then he ends up taking another name, and this ridiculous thing with the sound where you got everyone running around like, Hoo-ja! that's the weapon that he teaches the Freeman or Fremen. And so, yeah, just the more I'm talking about it now, I just think it is not a good movie by any stretch, but it's so fucking weird. It's such an oddity. I'm kind of warming to it in real time here.
Dave, we need to talk, my friend. This is fucking terrible. But what did you think of the end then? Did you think the payoff was there at the end? Because I didn't. I just felt it seemed to build toward this massive thing. And then once he was the Messiah and he wasn't a naughty boy, I think after that, it just sort of fades away and becomes quite political, doesn't it? And banishing people. And I just, again, make me care, make me understand what's going on. I just didn't care. And it's a shame, really, because I really think Paul, Atreides is a great name. That's what they should call him, really. This fucking first Paul is just a really bad name for a lead. Paul isn't a bad name for people in real life, Dave, before someone starts having a go at me. But I mean, in a movie, you wouldn't, it's like my name, Christian, Chris, everyone calls me it, but like, even I don't know why when people call me my full name, and usually I'm getting a bollocking. So Christian wouldn't be a great name as a lead character, I don't think, in a movie, unless it's Christian Grey, Dave, obviously. You know what I mean?
But it's weird because they do have other creative names, don't they? Because when it gets with the Fremen, he takes the name Wadib.
Yes.
As like a surname, but it's like, yeah, Wadib. Yeah, okay. Just call him that, maybe. Not Paul Wadib. There's this very, very exotic character over here. He's called Mark. He's an alien, So,
yeah. Mate John. Yeah, go with that.
So, I don't know. It is a bit weird. The whole Paul thing takes me out. And I did wonder, actually, with the Simon Pegg movie, whether that was an homage to this, because he is a massive kind of sci-fi nerd as well, isn't he, Simon Pegg? And so I did wonder if maybe it is a tiny little nod to this movie. Or,
You know
or this
what?
world.
This world, yeah, I would. So, Dave, anything else before we get into our scores?
Oh, I got a good feeling about this, so let's go.
So before I give my score, Dave, which may be a shock to absolutely nobody, let's hear what the main man has to say himself then.
So he sent a little note in and it says, I originally watched this after seeing Dune Part 1 for the first time, but before seeing Part 2. It does sort of spoil Part 2, but as you've found out, the first half is a bizarre but fairly interesting sci-fi world. Talking to you, Dave, I'm sure Chris hated it. Pleasure for Dave, pain for Chris. But then after the halfway mark, it feels as though the movie is on 1.5 speed and every other scene is cut out. Things whiz by so quickly, by the time you think you understand what the fuck just happened, you're now 5 scenes away. The ambition was there, the visuals were there, bar the bloody awful shield things, which age horrendously, and there are some big names in it. Unfortunately, it was too ambitious for one movie, and frankly, a mess. The pug is a random but fun bit of the film for no reason whatsoever, so that's fun too. I'm sure many of the audience have seen this movie and some probably have fond memories, and I can see why. If you can get over the rushed ending, or if you understand it from the numerous rewatches, or more likely reading the books, I can see this being a real treat. Although this film does take from Star Wars, I've got to say George Lucas took so much from the Dune novel to make Star Wars, it's nuts. In brackets, small plug, catch Dave on Star Wars Chit-Chat, it says. And it says, a shout out to Scott, the 20th Century Geek, as without him, I would never have seen this. If you want my full thoughts on this and Dune Part 1, check out the episode on 20th Century Geek from March 2024. Thanks again, guys. Much love from Mike, a genuine Chit-Chat. So there you go, Chris. Little bit on the fence. I feel like he also didn't enjoy it. So
no, honestly, it's top guy, Mike. So thank you, Mike. And you couldn't even save this for me with a little comic book run to justify what's actually going on. I'm sorry, like you can with Star Wars. Dave, this is a terrible movie, and it was awful. It runs into the pain of pleasure and pain for 2026. No idea what's going on. Don't care about any of the characters. Paul is the strangest lead character name going. He should have been like Atreides. That's it. That's who he is all the way through. That would have been more plausible, more memorable as like a badass guy. And like Mike said, the ending's just rushed. And I will never watch this again, Dave. If somebody from tries to make me watch this, Dave, I will literally jump out the next fucking window because it is fucking terrible. So this is going to Alderaan all day long, Dave. I really hope that General Zod turns up and sends it to the Phantom Zone, Dave, in Comics in Motion. That's how bad this movie is. It's definitely one of the worst movies I've done this year on the VHS Strikes Back. It was just boring and just didn't care about anything. So, what about you, Dave?
Well, you know what? I think that second watch has got me a bit. I think if we'd have recorded right after I watched the first the theatrical cut and that first run through, I think it would definitely have gone to Alderaan as well. But I think the extra scenes, putting in all the deleted scenes and everything, and understanding a lot of the dialogue more, and understanding what the hell was going on with the different betrayals and stuff, and you know, trying to again just this political setting that you've got in Star Wars as well, but kind of recognizing where it's taken a bit of inspiration from this as well. It's made me warm to it a bit more. It's still a terrible movie. It's an absolute mess. Mike had it right there, but it's enough. There's enough in there that is going to keep it out of Alderaan for me. So I'm going to put it in Elm Street. I do think there are some weirdly terrible but charming bits in the movie, and yeah, I will probably watch this again, Chris, and it's made me think, do I give the new Dunes a bit more of a chance? I think I'll maybe not straight away, but at some point I'll probably give them a go as well.
Yeah, Dave, and you're definitely going to be on your own, my friend, watching them. No, well, thanks, Mike. It's top man. It's a great guy, Mike. So thank you so much, mate. But Dave, next week is my pick. So I've sat. What am I going to pick? I have a little list of movies, and I keep thinking, right, do I go back to the well? Do I pull out a martial arts movie? Do I do something? However, now that I'm sort of, I suppose the class it is past middle age, I'm 47. As you get older, you get to that point where you go in work and people are pissing you off, or in life in general, people just want something from you. They're tearing the strips, away from you when you just want a fucking nice, quiet life. Just want to come in, do a bit of gaming, bit of, video editing, whatever, podcasting with you, just talking shit, watching football, whatever, wrestling, whatever it is, gaming, everything. It's just always gaming. And you get to a point where you think, you know what? I never understood when I was a kid when I watched this film, the idea behind it. But now I do, Dave. So we are going back to 1993. It's a movie directed by Joel Schumacher, written by Ebro Smith, starring Robert Duvall, Dave, which is quite a coincidence. Him a couple of weeks ago in Kilnockie. But more importantly, Dave, it stars Mr. Michael Douglas. So we are going to be reviewing Falling Down. So let's get into the trailer.
I remember this
Bill
being
Foster
advertised so
is an
much,
ordinary man.
especially with the burger and stuff.
Going
Yes.
home. Not this way, you're not. Why not?
It was just
Metro
totally
rail
different.
construction, that's why not.
Michael Douglas
Living
is just
in the
back to basic
everyday
instinct.
world.
Carrying
Yeah,
out
yeah.
and
Suppose
around
you have a
this
couple
time.
of bucks you can give me. It would really help me out. If you give me your address, I'll mail it back, honest.
And I'll be honest with you,
Patient
Dave, I think I've only
Can I
ever
help
seen
you?
it once before
Yes, I'd like a
watching
ham
it.
and
I'm
cheese
going to watch it
omelet,
again.
Yeah,
lamb
me too.
fries.
I'm sorry.
We stopped serving breakfast at 11:30.
Who's running out of patience.
I've been there with novels when we do that.
I'll save it for next week, but I do have a story about that as well.
Who's about to be pushed.
85 cents. 85 cents.
Doesn't
this
give me
is a
enough money
great
for the phone
scene.
call.
Drink, 85 cents. You pay or go.
A little too far.
I stay.
You mean you stole your baseball bat, but he paid for the soda?
Just standing up for my rights. As a consumer.
I love that
This
bit.
guy's discriminating.
What kind of vigilante are you?
Racist.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get home to my little girl's birthday.
Give us your briefcase.
If everybody will stay out of my way. Here, you want my briefcase? Here's my briefcase! There's the briefcase! Wait, where's the briefcase?
Really? It's fucking
Nobody
showing
will get
most of the
hurt.
film.
Warner
mate.
Brothers
This
presents.
trailer.
Would you get off my golf course? I am.
The story of an everyday guy who refused to take it one more
God.
day.
Sir, we got a nutcase with a bag full of guns. He's in Hollywood right now, and he's heading west.
I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's other people waiting to use the phone here.
Now, if you go up against this guy, be careful.
I think it's out of order.
Somebody in a white shirt and tie gunned down a phone booth 3 blocks from the Whammy Burger.
Michael Douglas.
In America, we have the freedom of speech. Come on, if I want to be a parking lot, I'll buy a ticket. The right to disagree.
Robert Duvall.
I know who this guy is.
In a Joel Schumacher film.
What are you doing to the street?
We're fixing it. What the hell does it look like?
See, I don't think anything's wrong with the street. I think you're just trying to justify your inflated budgets.
Well, I guess so.
I'll give you something to fix.
What are you...
So much of this is just wish fulfillment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just like you've had a day and you've come home and gone, I just wish I
Call
could
it
just
a
punch
day.
you straight in the fucking throat. Just tell you what
I'm the
really
bad guy?
think you.
A tale of urban reality.
No, that
can't
was
wait
a
for this
trailer.
one.
That I mean, I feel like I've just watched a short version of the movie.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. But it is. Yeah, if you've never seen it, it pretty much tells you what's going on. But however, Dave, I had a list of about 3 or 4 absolute classic 90s movies. And I was going through, right, to do that. And then I was like, no, I've had Falling Down on the list from literally the minute we started the podcast. I remember renting it, iconic VHS cover. I'm thinking, we've got to do it. And I think, I don't know whether you're the same, we'll talk about it next week, so not to spoil what's up, but literally, the more I get older, the more Roger Murtaugh, Dave. I always thought it'd be Martin Riggs, but I'm too old for this shit. You know what I mean? Even at 47, it's like there's too many fucking bellends in this world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to watch it and talk about it, honestly.
Absolutely.
So big thank you as always to everybody for all your support. Massive thank you for Mike for picking Dune. I wasn't liking you, Mike, for 2 hours and 17 minutes while I watched it, but there you go. I love chatting about it afterwards, and I love Mike's perspective on everything. He's so knowledgeable. definitely get over to his podcast. He's such a good guy, Mike. And yeah, big thanks to everyone else. So if you want to email us, the VHSStrikesBack@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on social media at VHSStrikesBack. If you do want to support us, please get over to patreon.com/the VHS Strikes Back. So the roll call of honor, and a big thank you to Chris, Graham, Matt, Reese, Nick, Greg, Gareth, Mike, Lee, Helen, Dylan, Dan, Justin, Susan, Tim, Matt, Hales, Kent, Lucky Lily Green, Herb, Jack, Math, Blake, John Hammond, and Mr. Tony Farina. So thank you. That list gets bigger and bigger. Thank you so much, guys, for all your support for me and Dave. We really appreciate it. And it's amazing. Everyone who supported us on Patreon, past and present. So, Dave, it's at this point we get a musical interlude. If you don't get some sort of piss take song out of this, I'm going to be very offended. If we get some opera stuff, then I'm not singing with you.
I mean, I was quite tempted with a bit of a Fatboy Slim angle when I heard that line about if you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm. But actually, Chris, one of the deleted scenes that I saw on this 3-hour cut was Patrick Stewart playing with what looked like a sitar.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's utterly bizarre, but again, it gives you a bit more of a window into his character. You know, this Gurney, he's a bit of a, he's a warrior, but he's also an animal-loving, clearly animal-loving, he's got a little pug there, musician. So I did have to look it up, and it wasn't a sitar. It was something called, this fictional instrument called a balisette. But for me, it was like, it looks a bit like a sitar. So I wanted to go with that angle, take a bit of Eastern influence there, but I kind of wanted it to be a bit heavy. But also, because it's such a prominent thing in the movie, the spice, I thought I'd go with this one, which is called Spice, Spice, Baby.
In my top-to with my steel suit on so the moisture won't falter. The framing on standby, waving just to say hi. Did you stop? No, I just flew by. Kept on pursuing to the next stop. Busted a left and I'm heading to the next rock. Oh, the canyon was still, so I continued to the deep desert below. Girls of the sea itching their desert fatigues. Guild navigators holding space with ease. Jealous cause I'm out here getting mine. Shiny with the crisp knife, power with the Quasat's design. Ready for the startle car on the Dune. Troops acting ill cause they're full of spice fumes. Cries rang out across the bled. I grabbed my blade, all I heard were the dead. Falling on the sand real fast. Jumped to my worm, rode away fast. Dune to Dune, the basin is packed. Trying to get away before the Harkonnens attack. Bearing on the this. Johnny rides across the fade, strikes like a frame and cuts like a crisp knife blade. So fast, other houses say damn. If my spice was a drug, I'd sell it by the gram. Keep composure when it's time to get loose. Magnetized by the voice while I kick my juice. If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while Steel Gun revolves it. Spice, spice, baby. Spice, spice, baby. Spice, 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 baby. Spice, spice, baby. Spice, spice, baby. Spice, spice, baby. Spice, 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 baby.
So, Dave, thank you for that one. That was a class. It does remind me of a bit of a sort of mid-2000s Limp Bizkit-y style, maybe late 90s. Something I would have saw or heard at the wrestling match is a wrestling theme, but that was actually better than the movie, so I do salute you, Dave. That's been a highlight of Dune for me. But no, thank you again, mate. I had a great chat today, and thanks, Mike, for picking it, and I can't wait for next week. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched this all the way through, apart from once. I think I've just literally, it's been a one and done. But yeah, I just remember seeing the trailer so many times, and having seen the trailer again, I remember kind of why I only felt I had to watch it once. But let's see how it sort of stands up, that one. But anyway, Chris, thank you very much for the chat today, sir. I think I knew coming in where this one was going to go. Thanks so much to Mike for picking this one. I'm glad I can tick this one off the list, that I've actually watched it all the way through now. And thanks to all our listeners out there. Thanks to all our supporters. And we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we going to do now? What are we going to do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
I'll be back. That's not.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
Wax on, wax off.
Get to the chopper!
One ring to go.
All right. Ding, ding.
Bust you up. Go for it.
Well, here we go.
Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Ain't so bad. Come on. Ain't so bad. Ain't nothing. Come on. You must be crazy or something. I'm crazy. You just a stupid fool.
Yeah, maybe you
crazy.
ain't breathing heavy.
He's a fool. He's stupid. I'll see you in 6 months.